No mas, not me. Men, erase married from your vocabulary. Well, it's 6 o'clock somewhere. Hello, this is the Gabby Mac Project. Please like and subscribe. It's free. Now, as I do with every video, let me salute all my veterans and active duty service members for keeping the country free, and a big thank you to the policemen and women and firefighters for keeping our communities safe. Salute. Okay, tonight, let's talk about the subject of marriage and why men should never sign up. Now, from my perspective, I don't think men should ever get married. But you might as well sign up for the circus. Ringling Brothers, to be exact. After all, isn't marriage like a three-ring circus? Now, let me explain. First, there's an engagement ring. Second, there's a wedding ring. And third, the eternal suffering that a married man will endure for the rest of his life. Now, who wants to suffer for the rest of their life? Let's break down the three-ring analogy. Men, listen and listen well. Now, you know when you are pursuing that fine young thing, she will do just about anything to please you. The conversations are deep and the sex is out of this world. The plot begins. Now, you aren't dealing with a dummy. She gets to know all your weak points. And if she's a long-term girlfriend, she really knows you. So, before you know it, you think you're in love, when in actuality, you were just pussy whipped. So you go out, get an expensive engagement ring, drop to one knee and ask her to marry you. Now, all the while, she knows that her trap is about to be sprung. That's step one. You see, women are very calculating, sneaky, and deceptive. And it hurts me to say it, they are better at this than we are. But I digress. You see, this pretty young thing sitting across from you, well, you have to get real close up on her. In her mind, she knows that her days of hotness are approaching its expiration date. Especially if she's had what I call an adventurous 20s and 30s. Her sexual marketplace value, her SMV, is going to go down. It's just like gravity. With age, a woman loses value. You, my friend, are her out. Now, she doesn't want to go through the rest of her life alone, unprotected. Marriage is the perfect safeguard. And there you stand, clueless. And you see, black women have it even worse, because only 1 out of 4 of them will ever get married. But, back on subject. Step 2. Now comes the planning for the wedding and all that entails. Getting fitted for tuxedos, spending money on a dance hall or whatever venue she wants the reception to be held at, so she can show her family and friends that she hit the jackpot. Now, the big day has arrived. There you stand, all sweaty hands, waiting for the woman you have chosen to be your lifelong partner. Now, here she comes down the aisle, all smiles and looking like $1 million. But the smile doesn't really reveal her innermost thoughts. I got him. So, there you go and put that damn wedding ring on her hanger and ride off into the sunset. On your honeymoon, you have just become her bitch. But you're just blissful, and all is well with the world. Right. Step 3. This is when it starts to get a little painful. You see, the fairy tale is about to have a twisted ending. This is where the third ring comes into view. The eternal suffering. I say it again, suffering. The three-legged stool is complete. But you say, Gabby Mac, tell me more of the story. Okay, if you insist. But I have to warn you. It isn't pretty. Now, you see, And remember that pretty young, goggly eyed woman you married 2 years earlier? She's vested. Now, she drops that nice girl persona and becomes the controlling, nagging, and unpleasant person she truly is. Now, some husbands will wilt under the pressure and become wimps. I bet you know a couple of guys like that. But you think back and you remember how assertive and bold that man was before he got married. You ask yourself, what happened? This guy would do anything to keep the missus happy. These types of guys would rather suffer in silence rather than call it a day. Divorce? No way. Although that guy got battered and bruised emotionally, these guys know what a divorce will do. It's preordained. The statistics show that when women get custody of children 80% of the time, and on top of that, you get to pay child support as an incentive so she will allow you to see your child or children. What a deal. The wild horse has been broken. The suffering. Most people know that marriage itself goes against the natural order of things because men are naturally polygamous. But modern society has altered the natural order. It's in a man's nature to have more sex with as many women as possible. But the marriage contract puts a constraint on the man. Did you know that when a man gets married, the marriage stands a 50-50 chance of lasting? And that's on a good day. And the ones that do survive, they last an average of 11 years. 11 years. Sign me up for that. Let's say you're one of those fortunate ones to make it to 11 years. But in the end, you fall into that 50% of marriages ending in divorce. And pretty sure the wife filed for divorce. Yep. The stats show that 75% of divorce applications are filed by women. And why is that? Well, you see, women really have little incentive to make their marriages work. After all, men usually bring more financial resources than women to marriages, and men earn considerably more during the course of their lives. So you see, women gain financially from divorce. However, the man's financial situation is usually devastated by divorce because, with most of his resources going to the divorcee, a man will have to start rebuilding his financial position from a low base, possibly at a stage in life when it'll be very difficult because he's gotten older. Does that make any sense? So why do some men get married, knowing their chances are 50%? Going into something with a 50% chance of failure is crazy. And once you are in it, it becomes difficult for the man to leave the marriage. The woman knows that with the current court system set up, the man is trapped because if he decides to leave the marriage, she'll get the money and benefits no matter what. On the other hand, if a wife decides to divorce, she will still be rewarded with cash in the form of child support or alimony or both. So it's a win-win-win for the woman. What a deal. Fellas, remember that wild, passionate sex you had before getting to this woman? 1, 2, 3 years later, that's gone. You see, she knows she doesn't have to use sex to keep you around anymore. The marriage license took care of that. Sex becomes less frequent and, quite honestly, probably quite boring. Now, if you think it's just me, then listen to the words of a woman who had been married for 15 years. This woman says, quote, "Being married is like giving the wife a loaded gun in her hands. Now, she can choose to pull the trigger, or she could decide not to pull the trigger. But ultimately, the husband's life is in the wife's hand." Now, she goes on to say, quote, "No one should have the right to destroy another person's life. No one should have the right to destroy another person's life." Now, I think in general, marriage doesn't benefit men. Point blank, period, full stop. Just isn't any good reason to put yourself in that situation. To be married, to be tied not to one person forever. Forever is a very, very long time. You have a lifetime, 60, 70, 80 years. Don't screw it up. You never know who you're going to meet along life's journey. And people are constantly changing. Now, I don't necessarily recommend it, but if you're going to do anything closely looking like marriage, I suggest cohabitating. Now, men who live like this are having the most sex because the woman understands that sex is part of the deal. Like the married woman said, marriage is a shit deal for men. So, cut the best deal for yourself. Always ask the question, would you want to jump out of an airplane if someone told you your parachute stood a 50% chance of opening? So, my advice to men is don't marry. Then you won't have to worry about getting divorced. And when you remove that from the equation, men won't have to suffer any of the great consequences of divorce. Now, here's Gary Mack 25 cents. Stay single, enjoy your life, and keep your resources for yourself. Pursue your dreams. Now, you can like, dislike, but that's Gabby Mack's 25 cents. Gabby Mack, signing off.